Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Oliver Chikosoro, representing Africa Rising TV. And we are right here at the 4th South African Oil and Gas Conference. And today I'm joined by Dax Driver from all the way from Trinidad.
Trinidad and Tobago, yes?
Yes.
That's where I'm, from my accent, you can probably tell I'm originally from England, but I've lived for over 30 years now in Trinidad. That's my home. But unfortunately, I still have the accent from England.
The English accent. Please tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do.
Okay, so I'm the CEO of the Energy Chamber of Trinidad and Tobago. So we like the trade association representing the energy industry in the country. So that's oil, gas, petrochemicals, renewables as well. And Trinidad and Tobago has a very old, very mature oil and gas industry. We've been in the business for well over 100 years, and we have a very well-developed gas industry as well.
That's
yeah,
great.
over 100 years. 1908 was our first commercial oil production.
Excellent. And this year's theme, enabling sustainable oil and gas development for diversified energy future. From your own perspective, what does this theme mean for Africa's oil and gas sector?
Well, I think there's a huge amount of resources in Africa. You have amazing hydrocarbon resources, some of which are being developed already. And you have the countries like Nigeria and Angola, Algeria, who've been in the industry a long time. You have these big giant players coming in Mozambique, in Namibia. These new countries coming in as well. So it's very exciting to have all of those producers. And I think really the question is, how then do those resources transfer into creating economic development for the people? Because the industry needs to create those opportunities for prosperity. Yeah. And I think that is what the focus is. And so I think the question there for South Africa now is you potentially have these resources, and obviously with Namibia finds, it's looking very positive here. But how do you turn that into not just molecules in the ground into actual economic development for the people and social change that brings, and a positive social change that it brings. And I was asked to come to talk about how we've done that in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, and there's a lot we can learn from you guys. And one of the things that we have learned from, for example, pandemics such as COVID-19 is that one should have critical thinking, but one should also collaborate. And collaboration is great when it's intentional about the objectives. Do you think that we are doing enough as a continent to collaborate, for example, with your chamber and with other partners beyond the African borders?
Yeah, I think there has been a fair amount of collaboration. I think there can always be more. Of course, I run a chamber, which is all about collaboration. So I'm always a big fan of people collaborating and companies coming together. I think there's a lot of learning which can happen, from different countries about the different experiences. In the past, I've done a lot of work with Ghana. I've been to Ghana a lot when they first set their oil and gas industry up there. I worked with them on safety. Safety is a topic where there can only be collaboration. You need to work together. There should be no secrets within safety, because it's about protecting lives. So that's an area that is obvious areas for collaboration. And I think learning from each other about having a regulatory environment which works best for developing the industry, things like local content, how do you make that really work? Those are all, I think, very important areas where there can be a lot of collaboration between different countries, recognizing that each country is going to be unique and have its own unique challenges and its own unique issues, but nevertheless be able to learn from each other.
Yeah, and when you talk about collaboration that is intentional, you also want to have an inclusive of the entire ecosystem by having women, youth, but those that were previously disadvantaged. And I think that's what we need to do more. But any recommendations first to African policymakers from this conference going forward? And as a chamber, are there any exciting projects that we should look up to?
I think so. In terms of lessons going forward, there's three things which I really think that countries need to be thinking about in Africa, as they, particularly for new countries coming into the gas industry in particular. My focus in my presentation is gas. That's what Trinidad is famous for, developing a great gas industry. So the first one is think long term. You've got to have a long-term plan. It's got to be something which is well accepted by everybody in the country, so that if governments change, the policies remain the same, or the broad direction of the policies in any case remain the same. So that's the first thing, think long-term. Secondly, for the gas industry, you have to think across the whole value chain. So that means from people who produce the natural gas, people who transport it, and the people who consume it. You've got to think about that whole value chain and make sure everybody can
There's
work
commercial
profitably
value
across the whole value chain. The third thing is invest in people and then do that early. So invest in skills training in particular. That's what I really think a good lesson from Trinidad has been, is that we invest if you go to any of the major operator companies in Trinidad, all of the staff are Trinidadian. And in fact, if you've got the big global companies who are operating in Trinidad, they'll have a lot of Trinidadians working for them outside Trinidad as well, because we put that time and the effort into education, and that was a core philosophy of the country going back to independence from the 1960s onwards, to really invest in education, and I think it's a big message. And whatever happens with the oil and gas industry, if you've invested in education, that can only be good.
Be good. And your last message, we have lots of young people in Africa that doesn't have jobs, that we need to inspire.
Sure.
And they've got also a lot of young people that are trying to venture into the sector. Any words of encouragement in your closing to our young people?
So I should say that the oil and gas industry and the energy industry more broadly has tremendous opportunities. I think a lot of the opportunities which people typically see are in the big companies, but there's a lot of opportunities for entrepreneurs to provide services to the oil and gas industry. The one key thing that I would say to any young person who's looking to be entrepreneurial and provide goods and services to the oil and gas industry is think very carefully about safety. Make sure you have strong safety management systems in your company. Put that in from the beginning, because you'll need those if you want to work with the big global oil and gas companies.
There you have it. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Thank you.